When I touched down, I just started thinking how small Hackney was. Actually going all the way to Brazil, you see how big the world is.
Victor is just one of 100 school leavers who were sent to Brazil, India or China in 2008 as part of the Prime Minister's Global Fellowship. This programme is the first ever student scheme focusing specifically on globalisation. It gives these young people the chance to see firsthand the new global economies that are shaping our world.
When I went out to Brazil, that just opened your eyes that there's a whole global workforce out there.
Britain is no longer an island. This world is globalising, and it is globalising at a rate that I don't really think we have any idea of.
The Global Fellows are back in the UK now and spreading the word. They've been speaking directly to the Prime Minister and politicians and are out on public platforms talking to educationalists and business people and going back into their own schools. Here we'll see some of them in action talking to all levels of the education system. Policymakers at the DCSF, curriculum leaders at the QCA, and teachers and students at a student voice conference.
Many people see the global economy as something too difficult for the likes of teenagers to be dealing with, and I can't think of anything less true. It's something that they are going to have to deal with even more, and so they've got to be made aware of it.
The message I'd like to get across is that we have to be aware, be open, accept new cultures and engage with them, otherwise we could get left behind.
Their experiences abroad are a catalyst for conversations around the crucial question: what kind of education should young people here be getting now to prepare them for the global era? First, 3 of the Global Fellows are taking their messages straight to the top education policymakers at the DCSF. They are going to address the Board of Directors headed by Permanent Secretary David Bell.
I'm not going to say any more except to pass over to Lucy Parker. Lucy.
We have here Dominic, Victor and Emma, who are part of the first cadre of Prime Minister's Global Fellows.
Lucy Parker has spearheaded the Global Fellowship Programme for the DCSF with some very clear aims.
It was driven by a very central thought. This was really to say young people are going to grow up into a world which is the new global economy. And that is very little discussed and very little taught in schools.
The dedication and the passion that I saw students in India have for their studies, they don't want to be satisfactory, they don't want to be good enough, they want to be the best of the best.
People here need to know that there's millions of people worldwide that value education a lot more than we do. If they get to know that, I think they can react to it.
As a country, we need to respect the key strengths of these emerging economies. For me, my whole experience of learning about other countries and other cultures was often stereotypically about cultures, so like food and religious festivals and things, nothing about what is going on now, the expanding economies and business, how people live and work. It needs to be something that is in children's mind, that this is the world they're coming into.
This is just one of several ongoing conversations tackling the question of education in the global era.
Things like that, I was there, I saw it.
The achievement in launching this programme so successfully, and it's just been great to hear your experiences.
Each of the 100 Global Fellows was selected from schools up and down the country, reflecting different cultures and backgrounds. The Global Fellows were chosen for their outstanding initiative and sense of enterprise. The 6 weeks that the Fellows spent abroad gave them the chance to see something of the culture, education systems and global businesses in their host countries. The Fellows saw how the aspirations and skills of young people in those countries are rising.
They have got talent in abundance there, and to me that was absolutely jaw-dropping. I could not believe the level of students that they were producing. I don't look at my future the same way, and I know a lot of people have changed their opinions as well and have spread those opinions that they found amongst their communities as well.
Next, Global Fellows Luke and Sophie are talking to the curriculum planners.
Hello, welcome to QCA conference. We'd just like to go down the stairs and collect your badge.
Fantastic, thank you.
This time it's a QCA national conference in London. Teachers from all over the country have come to learn more about the dimensions in the new curriculum, and our fellows are there.
Well, there are 7 cross-curriculum dimensions. Their purpose is to add richness to young people's experiences of the curriculum, so to help them make sense of the world and their place in it.
Luke and Sophie share their experiences.
This is it for me. This is the embodiment, no pressure here guys, this is the embodiment of successful learner, confident individual, responsible citizens. So you went to China.
I went to China,
And
yeah.
Luke, you went to India.
Yes.
Yeah. If you had to pick out one thing from that experience, what would it be?
We have far more similarities than differences, and it's amazing how similar we are across the board as learners and young people, and how much we can learn about ourselves by engaging with different societies, different cultures.
A lot of people, I think, reflected on the fact that maybe we didn't study to our full potential when we were at school. Maybe we could have worked that little bit harder, and out there they certainly seem to be doing that.
I realise that they're very aware that as they're climbing the ladder of life, they know if they slip on one of the rungs, they can fall right to the bottom. There's no safety net there.
How does what you do benefit me?
The aim of the fellowship is to bring back the messages that we picked up in these emerging economies, bring them back to the UK and try to spread them. We can offer something to young people that teachers can't, maybe, because we're only a year different. All young people are capable of achieving things such as going to a foreign country, living there, working there, and being enterprising beings.
It goes far beyond the 100 Global Fellows. It's about reaching right out into our community, instilling an awareness of culture, an understanding and empathy to help us all move forward.
And I'd like you to think just for 5 minutes about the attributes and values and skills that you think a global citizen leaving our school system would like to have.
It's being aware that there's more out there, I think, isn't it?
The workshops give the Global Fellows a chance to talk to teachers about the practicalities of developing a global education.
My experience at school, the last 2 years was beating the test. How do you beat the system? All these skills I tended to develop out of school.
One of the key questions for the education system is how to bring ideas about globalisation into the classroom for students who have not visited the new global economies. The workshops explore some existing initiatives.
It was a web-based project, and there are 2 websites. There's one website for teachers to use and one website for students to use. Students would actually prepare presentations. They would then upload onto the website. These were read by, for example, pupils in Thailand. For an international link to work properly, it needs to be properly embedded in the curriculum, but it's really important to realise this is not an add-on and it's not actually extra work.
What we have found over the years is that the international link is the common thread in improving standards, in enriching children's education and bringing a real thrill, a real buzz to all our schools.
One of the innovative aspects of the Global Fellowship programme is its links with global industry. Each fellow was given a placement with one of the world's leading companies, names familiar in the UK and now operating all over the world. Through the experience, the fellows gained some insight into how Britain needs to compete in this global economy.
I went to China for 6 weeks.
In another workshop at the conference, Sophie gets a chance to talk about enterprise on the global stage.
There's many concepts in China. One of the biggest ones is guanxi, but it's the concept of relationships.
As a result of the experiences in China, which Sophie is describing here, she's started a year in industry engineering scheme in a UK factory where she's studying working practices.
I would have to have an understanding of that ethic, of that value, of the reason why they do that, before I could attempt to really have any significant impact on that market.
What do you think for a school experience would help provide learners with a good experience?
You could have a day where you see which big businesses have set up in China. Maybe you could get a representative from that company to come in and speak to the kids and ask them, how would you set up a business there? What would you take into consideration? What values do you think would be important to a country such as China, India or Brazil?
One of the things I realised, having had that experience, for them to actually share that with young people really makes it compelling and brings it to life. So actually involving them at that level and that backwash. So they've had that experience, but backwashing it into schools is the way this opens out.
Victor has been back to his schools several times to talk about Brazil and the global economy he saw. He's now the ambassador of the AIM Hire project in Hackney, after his experience of the fellowship.
Not only did they send me out to Brazil, they sent my school out to Brazil. They sent the whole borough of Hackney out to Brazil. And I'm sure it's the same for every single one fellow.
And now Victor and 12 other global fellows are off to talk to teachers and students. They've come to Warwick to take part in a conference organised by the Specialist Schools and Academies Trust, specifically looking at designing classroom projects around global understanding.
You are or will have to become the innovation generation. On average, it's expected you'll have between 10 and 14 different jobs by the age of 38. We need to think about what that means in terms of skills, portfolios, ways of working. Most of the jobs that you're going to do don't exist yet. We don't know what they are. They're linked to those technology changes, they're linked to globalisation. It's an unknown future. There's a known unknown as opposed to an unknown unknown, to plunder a Rumsfeldism.
So how should our schools be preparing pupils for their global futures? The fellows get to work with the teachers and pupils to come up with concrete ideas built around the skills that young adults need in the global economy.
Does anyone have any particular jobs they want to go for?
Like medical research.
Medical research?
Yes.
Quite precise.
Yeah.
I like engineering and things like that, really. Nothing precise, just engineering somehow.
It's still quite...
Yeah.
And 14 jobs, there's a lot of jobs to have by 35. Can you prepare for that?
How do we depict that?
Draw a chameleon.
Chameleon.
That's a good one.
It can be a globalisation chameleon. Yeah.
You want really expect flexibility.
Practicalities of it, not all students can go visit another country. In every single school, I'm sure there's someone that's from a different nationality. Then why not draw on your own community?
I definitely think we can learn from people in our own country. In some schools in London, there's 70 different languages, and I think that's incredible. And the amount of culture that will be in those secondary schools and primary schools will be phenomenal.
You need to still understand that you're British and you're from a different nationality, but there's other nationalities in the world. The attitude needs to change that maybe you're not all so different. You are competing with the global world.
I found it really very inspiring. It's obviously clear that the word globalisation has very different meanings from pupil to pupil and teacher to teacher, but there's one rounded theme that we need to do something about globalisation to become more globalised.
Everything on the picture represents what we want our school to be like.
So the fellows have talked to education policy makers, curriculum planners, teachers and students. These fellows, and the new ones that will follow them, will continue to engage with the education system to help prepare schools for the global era. The conversations continue.
Firstly, we think the most important role of 21st century education is adaptability, as we've shown by the chameleon there.
This conference has actually been fantastic in terms of we're no longer talking about what we need to know, we're talking about how can we implement this in the classroom. So the sheer fact we've acknowledged the problem now and we're starting to tackle it, I think that's fantastic.